So, if you type in Bodhi brain bombs on YouTube, my video will come up, and it's a video I came up with probably 3 years ago. And the idea was that I would say these things on Facebook, or well, at the time I didn't give a shit about. I don't even think Twitter or Instagram were really a big thing at the time, but at the time, I had friends on Facebook that would say, dude, you should make a fucking YouTube channel. You should put these thoughts out there, because we would talk about things on Facebook, just controversial topics or whatever the case, and oftentimes I would have opinions that weren't the norm. They weren't this side or that side. They were kind of in the middle, and a lot of the time, people would read what I said and they're like, dude, you need to fucking start a journal or a YouTube channel or something. And so I did. I did. I started it and I never finished it. I made one video, and I kind of beat myself up a little bit for that, because I just found it. Just watched that video of me. A little bit skinnier in the face, and I had a little less facial hair. And but I thought the same way back then that I do now. Is that when it comes to anything, any controversial topic, I mean, like nowadays, we're talking about Black Lives Matter, we're talking about Antifa, we're talking about all these things. And for me, at the time, what I would do, and what I still do, really, I don't do it, it's not the same. But what I would do at the time was that whatever the argument was, if it didn't necessarily apply to me, right? Like, so if you're talking about abortion, I don't have any kids. I think there's too many motherfuckers on the freeway to begin with. Inherently, I'm kind of all for it. Not because I think killing babies is cool. I don't think it's a fashion statement, but for me, it's more of like, the less people, the better. We already have too many fucking people out there. So in a way, absolutely. But what I would do back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I mean 3 fucking years ago, I mean that instead of doing the research, instead of looking at all those Harvard studies or Cambridge studies or whatever, instead of doing my homework, what I would do is I would get in these fights on Facebook where I would take one side and back up that one side for however long that it took me to understand that side based off of other people's research. And then I would switch sides. And I would then advocate for the other side. And it's amazing what it does for your psyche. Right? Because in the beginning you take one side and you're all about it. You're fiery, you're passionate, And then you take the other side and you try to show that same fire, that same passion towards the other side, and you realize where you really stand. When you really put your effort into that other side, you realize you're either left, right in the middle, totally out in left field, totally out in right field. In a way, it kind of helps to situate yourself as to where you want to be. And that was my philosophy back then. It's my philosophy now. So this is a continuation of that video, because it's something that I told myself back then that I would be really serious about, and I wasn't. And I regret that, because I think as you'll see in that first video, this is me getting a chance to talk to myself, but knowing that other people may or may not see it. And when they do, they might have their own comments about it or whatever, but this is my chance to kind of unload all that shit that's stuck up in my brain. So, in opposition to what I did in the first place, instead of sitting here rambling, half drunk after eating Taco Bell, pretty funny video, you should actually watch it. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that the funny part about this whole situation, the ironic part, and when I say this whole situation, I mean everything that's going on in America, is that I called this out a long time ago. I knew it was going to happen, and I did. I called it out. When I was younger, right? Like, not younger like my last video, but I mean younger like when I was a kid, when I was like 10 or 11 or whatever. Maybe older, I'm not sure. When MySpace was cool, but there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was no Twitter, there was none of that shit. I caught it early on, and I said, look, where I live now, our problems are our problems. In my community, in my spot. That's all we care about. Dude robbed a bank down the road. Well, we knew that dude. That dude lived down the street from us. We knew that guy. Right? Or, DUI arrests or whatever. Oh, this dude got caught again, or this dude got caught for the second time, or whatever it was. Like, it was local. It was local news. It was local problems, local situations. Now, as far as the race factor goes, it was a primarily white area. So, in a way, it was white people problems. In a way. And then, now you have such direct connection to Chicago or New York or fucking Paris or Israel or whatever. And now everybody's problems have become everybody's problems. Regardless of what the government is doing, regardless of the situation, regardless of any of that, at the end of the day, because we have such a direct connectivity to everybody else on the fucking planet, everybody's problems are everybody's problems. And that is essentially the problem. That's the issue. See, we have this thought in our head that advocating or fighting for something on Facebook is ultimately what changes the situation. And it's not at all. In a way, I mean, there are gatherings and there are things that occur from online interaction which do show a lot of face. Sure. But at the end of the day, you're not helping and you're not changing anything unless those actions transpire into actual events. But 9 times out of 10, they don't. So the point I'm getting at is that what you should do, if you want to change America, if you want to change the world, if you want to make a real impact, all you have to do is one thing. When you get the chance, hold on a second. My phone is dying. When you get the chance, if you're sitting in line behind, say, a black woman, and maybe she doesn't have enough money to pay her bill, you pay her bill. Because money's replaceable. It's not that big of a deal. And if everybody's right about the situation, if you're white, you could probably pay the bill without thinking about it anyway. Which I don't agree with, but it's a conversation for another time. I don't have a lot of time. What I'm saying is, if you see an old man in the street pushing his truck out of the middle of the road because his truck broke down, you stop traffic and you push that man's truck out of the road. You do what you can for other people, regardless of race, regardless of whatever. Doesn't matter. Golden rule. Do what you can for other people the same way that you would expect them, or at least hope that they would, if you were in a similar situation. That is your responsibility as an American. It has nothing to fucking do with race or color or nothing. Nothing. If you want to advocate and yell and scream in the streets with signs and gatherings and whatever, do what you gotta do. If that's how you think you're gonna make a difference, then that's how you think you're gonna make a difference. More power to you. But at the end of the day, if you want to make a real difference in your community, locally, where you really can influence somebody, buy somebody's coffee. Help somebody take their groceries to their car. Give that guy on the corner $5. You know he might spend it on booze. He might spend it on drugs. But at least you'll feel better. Interim. For the time being. Who cares? You could shit $5. You could wipe your ass with $5 and not even think about it. But you're that negligent to give it to a stranger on the corner that's standing there with a sign? Fuck it. Give the guy $5. At worst, he buys a 211 with it and is able to sleep that night. Who gives a shit? Most of any of you watching this video is going to know, or it probably makes a decent wage. It's where $5 doesn't mean shit. $5 is throwaway paper. Who gives a fuck about $5? So do what you can. Do what you can by the people that are around you. It doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be time. It doesn't have to be effort. It doesn't have to be anything. Just do right by the people that are around you in your situation. Whether it's your neighbor you never talk to, whether it's that fucking weirdo walking down the street, whatever. But as a pro quo, this is something I did the other day, and this is something that might tilt the scales a little bit. This is a good idea. There was a black kid that walked in front of my house the other day, and I let my dog out, and my dog just hangs out in front of my house all the time. And I don't leash her, no collar, no nothing. She just hangs out. She's wouldn't hurt a fly. She's a beautiful dog, no problem. This black kid walked by, and I only say he's black because, one, he was, and two, it pertains to the story. Black kid walks by, and he was terrified. I could see it in his face. He was covering his face because, COVID and wearing a mask and whatever, but I could tell he was scared. But I could also tell he was going to the Shell station that's a block away. So, when he came back, I said, "Hey, bro, come here, let me meet you." And so I shook his hand and told him my name and talked to him about my dog. And I said, "You don't have to worry about her. She's never going to hurt you. She's not going to run up on you and try to bite you or nothing. She would never hurt a fly. You have nothing to worry about. I don't leash her up because I don't have to. Because she's a good dog." And the kid shook my hand and he went home. But I could tell that and since then, that kid walks down my street all the time. He's not worried. Because I took the time as a seemingly white guy. Really, I'm more Native American than white. But as a white friend of mine pointed out, I am only known by society by looks as a white guy. So I guess I'm a white guy. Either way. At the end of the day, if you fucking go out of your way to make other people feel comfortable, go out of your way to help other people. That's all you gotta do. And that has a bigger impact than any kind of BLM march down fucking Washington State, Washington, D.C. Avenue, whatever. Way bigger impact. And this is the first of many, because I'm going to continue this motherfucker. So, have fun. Have a good night.